What is up, you guys? Wonderbro here. Today I want to talk about the bigger understanding when it comes to anxiety, panic, intrusive thoughts, OCD type stuff, all these different labels that people place on this thing. Sensitized nerves, tired nervous system, healing, recovery, the bigger understanding, right? If you've been here on my channel for a while, you know that I have two keys, which is continue to live your life, live as if you're already healed right through that anxiety, and continue to stay out of rumination and worry, which means when you have thoughts, when you have feelings, you are reminding yourself as often as need be, you know what, it is what it is, I don't need to ruminate about it, I'm just going to let it be there. The bigger understanding, though, that I feel like a lot of people are missing is this is supposed to lead you to a place of acceptance. This is supposed to lead you to a place of, you know what, if these symptoms are here, if these thoughts are here, it's a good opportunity, it's a good practice opportunity to allow these thoughts and feelings to not fight with them, to see them as needed, right? To see them as a release, to see them as something that needs to be felt. So the thoughts are allowed to come and go, they're allowed to get sticky sometimes, the symptoms are allowed to be there, and you just have that accepting inner voice, whatever you choose, you just have that accepting inner voice that gets you to a place of, and you might not be perfect, but gets you to a place of being able to say, you know what, this is a needed release. It's okay that I feel this. It's actually a good thing that I feel this. Anxiety learns while anxiety is turned on. The hotter it burns, the quicker your brain learns, whatever you want to tell yourself. But the bigger understanding here is that my two keys of living your life as if you're already healed and having that accepting inner voice instead of ruminating and fighting with every thought and every feeling is to hopefully get you to a place where your attitude changes, to hopefully get you to a place where your perspective changes, where you start to realize that anxiety being there, although uncomfortable and although at times very scary, is not a bad thing. It's allowed to come out. It's allowed to release. It's like having an infection that needs to clear up, and you have to let that infection out, which means it has to be felt. And same with the thoughts. You're not ruminating or fighting with them. They're allowed to float around in the back of your mind. The feelings are allowed to show themselves in whatever way they want to show themselves, but you have this attitude that you're practicing of, you know what, it's actually a good thing if it's here. It's actually an opportunity if it's here. That infection is clearing up, that fire is burning up. This is actually a good thing, So you may still feel fear, and that's okay. We call that first fear, Dr. Claire Weekes' first fear. It's that second fear that we're trying to eliminate, that attitude of, I don't want this here. I almost choked to death. I don't want this here. This is not a good thing. This is not allowed to be. We want to change that attitude. And that's what the two main keys are really trying to do, right? Of course, the two keys help your brain learn. They show your brain the truth. But ultimately, we want those two keys, living your life as normal and no longer fighting with your thoughts and feelings mentally. We want those two keys to lead to a change of attitude, an attitude that says, you know what, it's okay if this is here. I don't have to like it. I don't have to love it. It's okay if this is here. It's that infection clearing up. It's that release. It's that surge, which is true. Anytime you feel those feelings, those symptoms, anytime you're getting slammed with those intrusive thoughts, that is a release. That is the fear pathways in your brain releasing, right? That's one way to look at it. So we actually do want it there. It's actually okay if it is there. And if you view it as a release, if you view it as a surge every time it rolls in, you get one step closer to recovery. So the bigger understanding that I personally feel like a lot of people are missing is they're still trying to use my two keys as a quick fix. They're trying to use my two keys as an instant cure. So they get feelings and they think to themselves, okay, the two keys, I'm going to go take the trash out, live my life. And while I'm taking the trash out, I'm going to tell myself, you know what, it is what it is. It is what it is. And they're not understanding that the two keys are supposed to lead to an attitude change. That's what you're supposed to be practicing, right? So if you're trying to use my two keys as a quick fix or an instant cure, you're not quite understanding the bigger picture here, and it's probably why you find yourself in this awkward back and forth cycle and have been for so long. The bigger picture is that while using the two keys, continuing to just go forth with your life and live your life and no longer mentally fighting with your thoughts and feelings, just having that accepting inner voice, are supposed to lead to a attitude change of, you know what, this release is allowed to be here, right? The surge is allowed to happen. This is allowed to play out, right? again, if you're using that with an attitude of, okay, now please go away, not really going to cut it. You need to practice just remembering that every time you feel that way and you have those thoughts hammering away and you have the attitude of, okay, this is a release, you're getting one step closer. You're getting one step closer. Don't look for it to be an instant fix or a cure. We want that anxiety to be there, and we want you to have an attitude of the anxiety is allowed to be there. Now, again, you're not going to be perfect. It takes practice. You know, for so long you have told yourself very negative, scary things about anxiety and the feelings and the thoughts, and you've had an attitude of make them go away. You've had an attitude of, no, if they're here, I'm doing something wrong. You've had an attitude of, they're not allowed to be here because that means I need to find the fix because I can't handle this. You know, for so long, you've had these horrible attitudes, right? And my 2 keys are supposed to help you get to a place where you have a better attitude. I see so many people try to use the 2 keys, but because it's not an instant fix, and because they're not understanding that the real goal is to have a better attitude, a better perspective, a better viewpoint of anxiety being there, something like, hey, this is a release, because they don't have that part of it, they are still running in circles trying to look for that instant fix, that instant cure. You can't adopt the 2 keys. You can't wake up tomorrow and decide you're going to live your life as normally as possible, and if those feelings and thoughts are there, you're not going to get into them mentally. You're just going to keep that accepting inner voice. You can't get into my 2 keys and expect an instant fix, or you're just going to keep going back and forth. We want you to practice those 2 keys until you get an attitude of, hey, this is a release. It's allowed to be here. If I want to be anxious all day long, fine. It's one step closer to recovery, okay? This is a surge. This surge is allowed to come out. This infection is allowed to come out and clear up. This fire is allowed to burn, right? That is the true accepting inner voice that leads to an attitude change. Again, you're still going to be afraid. You're not going to be perfect, but we've got to have that attitude change. So I feel like a lot of people are missing that bigger realization. They're still trying to use it like a quick fix. They're trying to use it like an instant cure. They're trying to use the 2 keys, so they get up and, okay, I'm going to live life today, and while they're living their life, they're, they're slugging around from A to B, and they've got these thoughts in their head that they're still getting up there with, saying things like, okay, it is what it is, and they're looking over their shoulder, yeah, but it's still here, and I don't think it's working. So they're missing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you use those 2 keys without looking for an instant fix. You use those 2 keys because it leads to an attitude change. The attitude change that is going to get you to recovery is the attitude change of, this is allowed to come out. These feelings are allowed to come out. These thoughts are allowed to come out. When I catch myself ruminating, I'll just remind myself, hey, this is a release. Let it just hang out up there. It's okay. Don't have to shine a spotlight on it. It can be there if it wants to be there. This is a release, right? So I understand where people get stuck trying to use those 2 keys, looking for that instant fix, but ultimately the bigger understanding is that this is an attitude change. This is a perspective change. And if you're missing that part and you're trying to use those 2 keys in a very toxic way, in a negative way, then that's probably why you're still in this awkward limbo. All right, you guys. So just wanted to throw that out there. Just wanted to make that obvious. I see a lot of people make that mistake. But I think that's it. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, feel free to subscribe. Check me out on all my other social media. Twitter, well, I guess it's called X now. Interesting app change. Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. Vacate Fear. Love you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Stay awesome. Oh, reach out for me if you're interested in one-on-one coaching. Stay awesome.